Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo covering all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, you look dapper.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Swebb.
The shirt's a little snug.
It's not snug. There's plenty of room. Look at that.
Where'd you buy that?
Online. Amazon.
They are known to have a lot of inventory of a lot of
things.
things.
It is me, is it? It is me.
You look very Irish a few days after St. Patty's Day.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is a big episode because March Madness is about to begin. And so I always say that we have a lot to cover, but we have a lot to cover. Before we jump into it, I have put up my disco ball right above me. So here's the video of the disco ball.
Nice. Hey,
Yes.
I'm rocking to the beat already, Swebb. Look at it. Yo!
Creates a bit of a vibe in the apartment that I'm really enjoying these days. So
All of a sudden, I have some newfound rhythm.
I don't think that the disco ball is going to help with your rhythm. I've seen you dance the 3 times ever in your life.
Well, you weren't there the first time.
Well, and yes, at your wedding. And you said you never go to discos, so it's no surprise that you have no rhythm.
Right. Hey, what can you do, Swebb? I was doing more important things.
You can't really develop rhythm when you are watching sports 100% of the time.
Oh, you can.
Okay. And what did you
got
do
the
before the remote?
I have the fastest. I had to get up and walk. I had exercise. That's when I gained all my weight, when the remotes were invented. Before that, I was back and forth to the TV.
It's all making sense now. All right. March Madness. To cover a few things, March Madness is the NCAA tournament for college basketball. And, oh, I'm sorry, before we do that, let's do back in the day. This is where we each share a memory from back in the day. Dad, you go first on your sports memory.
Since the baseball season starts in 2 weeks. No, next week. Next week, 10 days, about 10 days. Major League Baseball season starts. 1979. I'm sitting at Yankee Stadium, the original Yankee Stadium, in the upper deck behind home plate. I think your mother was there. That's when I was starting to get her into baseball. She didn't come from a sports background. And get her into baseball. So we're at Old Timers Day, 1979, July. Stadium is full. That place held 63,000 people. And they always had a full house on Old Timers Day because you had all the old timers come back. Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Whitey Ford, Yogi Berra. We went a few times with my brothers and my father would tell us about some of these old-time plays that we never saw, but he grew up watching. And the Yankees manager early in the year was Billy Martin, and he had been fired. He was a great manager, but he had a drinking problem. And him and George Steinbrenner, who was the owner, didn't hit it off all the time. George Steinbrenner was demanding boss, wanted to win, spent a lot of money. Billy Martin, also demanding manager. He was a very good player when he played on the Yankees back in the 50s. But he was like an overachiever. He wasn't one of the stars, but he was one of the key guys on the team. And he didn't have, as a manager, he didn't have a lot of respect for the superstar players. So he always butted heads with like the Reggie Jacksons of the world, but like the guys that were overachievers. Anyway, Yankees had gone on a little losing streak, and they fired. And Billy Martin said some nasty things about George Steinbrenner, so he fired him. And he brought in Bob Lemon. So here we are on Old Timers Day, and everybody's sitting back in their seats. They're introducing all the old-time Yankees, and all of a sudden, pops out of the dugout, Billy Martin, as the public address announcer, Bob Shepard, says, and the manager for next season, Billy Martin. So he'd already told Billy Martin that he was going to hire him again as soon as this season was over. And they announced it there, and they snuck Billy Martin into the stadium. Nobody knew that he was there. He came out in his uniform, ran out on the field, and the roof came off. If there was a roof on that stadium, I was in the upper deck, and the building was actually shaking. It was incredible. It was because all the fans loved Billy Martin. And it was incredible. That was the loudest I ever heard that stadium. Until a few minutes later when they played their 2-inning or 3-inning Old Timers Day, and Mickey Mantle hits a ball into the seats, home run, and the stadium exploded again. That was an incredible day at Yankee Stadium.
That is pretty cool. I like that memory. I'm going with a Yankee memory as well. So, in honor of the baseball season starting in 9 days by the time that this airs, 9 days to opening day, so a week and a half. So, my 16th birthday, I wanted to go to a Yankee game, and I had spent a lot of my high school summer nights, and there's a siren driving by, so apologies, but this seems to happen whenever I'm on a conference call or recording an episode of Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. But at least we know they're out there saving lives. Okay, so my 16th birthday, I'd spent many summer nights watching Yankees baseball with my friend Caitlin and with you. And we used to go to games. You had a weekend plan. For a while it was on Sundays, then we switched it to you switched it to Saturdays. And so we decided, okay, for my 16th birthday, I didn't want, actually, this is my 17th birthday. I didn't want to have a birthday party. I just wanted to go to a Yankee away series. And so Baltimore was the closest city. We had been to Camden Yards before for Yankee games when they played the Orioles. And so we planned to go to Baltimore for my 17th birthday. And you allowed me to bring 3 of my friends, and it was you and Mom. And so you were like, we're going to stay in the same hotel as the Yankees. So we made reservations at 3 of the nicest hotels in Baltimore that we thought that they could be staying in. And I remember driving down to Baltimore, and we're trying to figure out which hotel is the one that the Yankees are staying in. So we just start calling the hotels. And I pretended like I was Andy Pettitte, who used to pitch for the Yankees. I pretended like I was his niece. And I said, oh, can you connect me to my uncle? I think he's staying here. And someone at the front desk accidentally connected me to his room. And so we hung up the phone and said, cancel all the other reservations. We're staying at this hotel. This is where the Yankees are staying. So fast forward, we end up going and staying at this hotel. We had made T-shirts and signs for the game and everything. The one thing I do remember about the game, and the only thing I remember about the game, is that I lost my cell phone at Camden Yards, and I was devastated. This was also a few days, like a day or two before I failed my driver's test. So that's another story. A day or two after I failed my driver's test. So that's another story. But long story short, we stayed at the same hotel as the Yankees. We got to see them getting on the bus. We ran into a few different guys. I remember we were talking to Michael Kay out in the front of the hotel, and I said, hey, Michael, I'm going to steal your job. And he's like, you're taking my job? Why are you taking my job? It's because I wanted to be a sports reporter back in the day. And so that was an amazing 17th birthday, despite the fact that I lost my phone and failed my driver's test just before it. But we got to go, 3 of my friends. We stayed at the same hotel as them. We went to Fuddruckers, which used to be my favorite restaurant in all of the world because they had the best cheeseburgers. And so, yeah, I've a ton of Yankee memories, but you remember that one, right, Dad?
Oh, I'll never forget that. Saw all the players coming in and out. It was unbelievable. And whenever the Yankees are on the road, the hotel is always swarmed with Yankee fans because we're not the only people doing what we did. And that was the Renaissance in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Which is walking distance to Camden Yards.
Yep. And I mean, anything in the Inner Harbor was pretty much walking distance. We went to Ripley's, believe it or not, and all of the other things that were in the harbor at the time. And it was just an amazing birthday. So that's the way I chose to spend my 17th birthday, was at Camden Yards, going to a few Yankee games against the Orioles. All right.
Yep.
Now, should we get into March Madness?
Let's go.
So this is one of my favorite times of the year because the weather's getting nicer, spring is coming in, baseball season starts in a week and a half, and March Madness. Endless college basketball games for the next 4 weeks. And so Dad and I have filled out brackets. And so for anyone who tunes in or who follows us, we would like for you to join us. I put our links to the brackets on our Instagram and Twitter pages. So click the link, fill out a bracket. This is all for bragging rights. There are no prizes this year. Next year, we may revisit the prizing, but there's something special about just having the bragging rights of knowing that you had a really good bracket. So let's talk about the bracket. Now, we're both UNC fans. Unfortunately, on Saturday, they lost the ACC tournament to NC State, but they still managed to get a 1 seed. And so they're one of the 1 seeds. UConn, who's been the best team, I think, in college basketball all season. Houston and Purdue are the 1 seeds. Now, I wanted to be different as I was filling out my bracket, and I just didn't like the direction that I was going in just for the sake of being different. So my final 4 is UConn playing North Carolina and Kentucky playing Purdue. Now, Kentucky is a bit of a reach, but that's my final 4. And then I have UConn and Purdue playing in the championship with UConn winning. I tried everything in my power to not have them winning because I think 90% of the country will have UConn winning. They're a deep team. They're extremely athletic. They've got shooters. They've got guys who can take players off the dribble. They've got size. They're very deep, very athletic, and they're the returning national champions. So I kept going back and forth, and I didn't submit my bracket right away, and that's where I landed. Dad, who do you have in your final 4?
I have UConn, North Carolina, Houston, and Purdue.
So you have all number 1 seeds.
Yes.
That's a bold take. Now tell me, what was your thought process to getting to this final 4?
UConn, because they've been the best team in college basketball all year. We saw them play in person at Madison Square Garden a few months ago, and they are dominant. They blew North Carolina out. Houston has looked good all year. They've been strong. They've got nicked up a little bit the last few weeks, a few times, but they're really good. Purdue, they've been favored, and they've been real good for a few years now, but and then they always fall apart in the NCAA tournament. And their big man, Edey, is a senior now, and I figured, you know what? Maybe they'll will their way through it. Last year they played with a lot of freshman guards. Now those guards have a little more experience.
Last year they were a 1 seed who lost to a 16 seed. To give everyone some history, 2 years ago they were 2 seed that lost to a 15 seed, which is incredibly rare. This never ever happens. Only 2 1 seeds in the history of the NCAA tournament have lost to 16 seeds. And then the percentage is a little bit higher when it comes to 2 seeds against 15 seeds, but both of those, it's extremely rare. Usually those should be games that the higher seed blows out the team that they're playing by 20 points.
Right.
So I struggled too because Purdue has busted my bracket, which means when Purdue loses and you have them going all the way and they lose early, the whole bracket's jacked up. So they have busted my bracket for the past 2 years. So I was struggling with that, right? Like, but they are a good team, and Zach Edey, to your point, I'd love to see UConn against. I'd really love to see UNC in the national championship. Let's call a spade. We're UNC fans, but we saw UNC play UConn before, and I think they might be outmatched. Not saying that they can't win the game, but everything's gonna have to line up, and they're gonna have to play a perfect game to beat UConn. But I think an interesting matchup in the national championship will be Purdue against UConn because they both have big men, they both have guards that can score, and they have shooters. So I think that that matchup is exciting. And is that who you have in the championship?
I have the North Carolina Tar Heels. I'll never pick against them. Never. North Carolina Tar Heels winning the whole ball of wax.
Against
and I
who?
saw them in person get blown out at Madison Square Garden by UConn. But you know what? These are kids playing. These kids are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Anything can happen. I saw North Carolina beat NC State twice this year, and then they lose on Saturday night. Never forget, this is college basketball. This isn't pro, and it's very hard to beat the same team again. We'll see, but this is where my heart is, and this is where my bracket is, Swebb.
Now, who do you have UNC beating in the championship?
Purdue.
Okay, so you have them having to go through UConn and then Purdue to win the whole thing.
Yes, ma'am.
From your mouth to God's ears. I usually do put UNC going all the way, but I wanted to be a little bit realistic. Now, they're going to have to play Arizona in the Elite Eight, potentially, which will be a matchup of UNC versus their former guard who brought them to the national championship game 2 years ago, and Caleb Love, who's the Pac-12 Player of the Year after transferring to Arizona. So it's going to be tough. The one quadrant of the bracket that I actually didn't like filling out was the side with Houston, because Houston has also been one of the top teams in college basketball all season, except for the fact that they lost in the Big 12 tournament to Iowa State. But Duke is also in that bracket, in that side of the bracket. And so, oh no, I'm sorry. Duke is in that side of the bracket. So I don't know. I haven't seen Houston play that much this year. My reach was Kentucky, and the only reason I have Kentucky is now they score a lot of points. They also give up a lot of points, but they've got like 3 7-footers on their team that are extremely athletic that were hurt for part of the year. So they could either fizzle out and lose in the first or second round, or they have the potential. They have the talent, certainly, to go very far. So I have them going to the Final Four just in a way to be different, in a way to kind of, if they can reach their potential, this is now the time to do it. So I have them, Kentucky beating Houston in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four.
Could happen. Kentucky has some tremendous freshman guards. We'll see. Houston is really good, and they play really physical, and they have some guys that can shoot it. It's going to be a good tournament.
It is.
There's about 10 teams that could win this whole thing.
Right. There usually, in years past, you have a few teams that have been clearing away the best teams in college basketball, maybe have 1 or 2 losses on the season. This year, you've got teams, some of the top teams in the country. UConn has 3 losses. UNC has 6 or 7. So, and they're both 1 seeds. So anything can happen. I think it's going to be really exciting. Where are you going to watch the games, Dad?
Right back there in the Lazy Boy recliner.
I'm going to watch UNC probably in the confines of my home right here on this blue couch. But the other games, when UNC isn't playing, I'm probably going to go out and watch them in bars in the city just because it's a fun time. You have multiple TVs going. You can order some food. And the energy is unreal. Unfortunately, Miami won't be in the tournament. Their season is over. ended up going 15-17 on the season, which is disappointing after making the Final Four last year. So I won't have 2 teams to follow, which means I can put all of my energy into UNC.
Welcome aboard, Swebb.
All right, so you have UNC winning the whole thing. I have UConn winning the whole thing. Everyone else who follows us or tunes into our episodes, fill out a bracket. The link is on our social pages, and the password is Dad and Swebb, really easy, and we'll just see how we do. Everyone will have the chance to win bragging rights, the ultimate bragging rights. Okay, let's switch to the Knicks really quickly. The Knicks go 3-0 on the week after losing to Philly last week on Monday or Tuesday night. They end up beating Philly. And then they go out to the West Coast and they beat Portland and Sacramento. Now, in that 3-game stretch, 2 of the games, Jalen Brunson scores 42 points and 45 points. He ends up being named the NBA's Eastern Conference Player of the Week. He is the 4th Knicks player to score 40 points in back-to-back games, joining Bernard King, Patrick Ewing, and Carmelo Anthony. So great company. And despite the fact that Jalen Brunson right now is really the large share of the offense for the Knicks, they're still winning games and they're playing great defensively, and they're finding a way.
Well, OG Anunoby came back 3 games ago, and it's more than a coincidence that they've won 3 games in a row. Now, Golden State on Monday night, he's been ruled out. He's not playing because he kind of re-injured his elbow, and they want to give him a rest for a game. So he's not playing against Golden State on Monday night.
And we're recording on Monday night, so we're going to be missing the Golden State game in regards to talking about it here. But this upcoming week, they also play Denver on Thursday night in Denver, and they play Brooklyn on Saturday back at home. So this is a tough week. Golden State's a tough matchup regardless. They're not the Golden State of 4 years ago, but they're still teams like to show up when it's time to play the Knicks. And Denver is the defending NBA champions, and they've been great all season. So what are your thoughts on the week, Dad?
Let's see if OG can come back later in the week and play, because they're a totally different team when he plays. And let's see how soon Randall and Robinson come back. Let me tell you something. I'm saying it right here. If the Knicks are healthy with their entire roster when the postseason starts, they can win the entire ball of wax. There's no superstar team. Denver's real good. Boston's real good. But the Knicks play incredible defense. The other night against Sacramento, they're the highest scoring team in the league, and the Knicks held them to 91 points. If the Knicks have their entire roster healthy and on the court, they can beat any team in this league in a short series. And I predict they will if everybody is ready to play.
The fun thing, now this has been a treacherous time for us as fans because we don't know who's coming back when, and we've had to kind of squeak out some games and also have lost a few in these past couple of weeks. But the fun thing is you see like even OG Anunoby coming back into the lineup. Immediately they start winning. It's a different level of intensity on the court. Guys are not having to play 40 minutes a game, and OG Anunoby is a game changer. As we've seen, the Knicks have gone 15-2 with him in the lineup. So then you add in, it's unfortunate that he tweaked his elbow, and that's my concern with guys coming back a little too early, although we are running out of time because it's now the middle of March. And so there's a month left of the regular season. So you don't want guys to come back and then immediately get injured, particularly as the intensity of games is going to go up. And in the playoffs, it's going to be a completely different story. And so the fun thing about being a fan right now is you know that the potential of the team when fully healthy is that they could win it all, that they're right up there with the best teams in the league. But we haven't seen the whole team be completely healthy. So we don't know what's going to happen and how players are going to come back. But listen, I'd rather be in this position than be struggling for a 9 or 10 seed or not even sniffing the playoffs.
Like we were 5 years ago we were winning 17 games.
Right.
And this was a joke, and everybody was laughing at the Knicks, and they were a joke, and they were horrible, and coaches were getting fired every 2 years, and this, and it was a mess. Then Charles Dolan went
James
out.
Dolan,
James Dolan,
his son.
the owner, who everybody was mocking and saying he's a dummy, he's this and he's that. And every time the Knicks would lose a game, they were complaining about Dolan, the owner. Wait a second. He wasn't on the court playing and messing up. But he went out and found Leon Rose to run the whole operation. And Leon Rose doesn't even give interviews. All he does is sit in his seat and draft players. And he surrounded himself with a tremendous management team and a tremendous coach. And then all he does is draft players, make moves, make trades, and manage the salary cap. And he hired a great guy, they call him a capologist, to handle the salary cap so they wouldn't get overburdened with too much salary to any one player. And that's why they have such a deep team and they're so good.
So
And 5 years ago, this team won 17 games, and everybody was upset, and people weren't watching. And you know what? I still watched, even when they were winning 17 games. I watched every game.
and that's why
'Cause I
you're part of
stick with
Dad
my
and Swebb
teams.
Talk Sports.
I stick with my team, Swebb.
I know. Kudos to you, because I wasn't watching every game when they were at only 117.
One year, you even jumped out and started rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks.
I
about
did.
10 years ago.
I chose a different team just for 1 year, just to change it up. And guess what? A few years later, they won the NBA championship. So I do know how to pick them.
And I think 1 year, when you were like high school, you jumped out and were a Sacramento Kings fan because they had Chris Webber on the team.
Well, I was a Chris Webber fan who became a Sacramento Kings fan because he was on the team. And also they played a run and gun 'em style where they were fast-paced, high-scoring. They were on NBA on TNT every week, and they were fun to watch. And also, at the time, they had a big rivalry with the Lakers. And so I didn't want to root for the Lakers. I'm not even sure what the Knicks were doing around that time. I think they were a perennial 8 seed and usually bowed out of the first round of the playoffs. So I wasn't rooting against them, but I just added a team to the mix because I liked the way that Sacramento played. And because my cousin was on the team. Chris Webber.
Well, welcome home, Swebb. Welcome back.
I'm excited for this last month of the season because a lot of things can happen. And we don't know what we don't know. We just need guys to get healthy. But as guys get healthy, if they get healthy in time, the team will continue to play better. Matchups will be easier. But it's gonna be a dogfight till the end. So we'll see. And so we're gearing into the playoffs. We've got 9 days until opening day for Major League Baseball. We've got March Madness. It's a fun time. Dad, what are you looking forward to other than sports and everything that we've covered?
Sports, my next meal, Swebb.
What are you going to have for dinner? A steak.
No, not
Sauteed
tonight.
onions.
No, not tonight. Not tonight.
I know what you will have is popcorn later at night.
Yes, I will have some popcorn probably tonight. I'll tell you one thing. When we grew up in the Bronx, in our neighborhood, we had a mix of everybody. We had German people, we had Italian people, we had Irish people. We had everybody. We had a synagogue around the corner. We had everybody. My man Bruce had potato pancakes that his mother made at his house.
Latkes.
We had tremendous Italian restaurants on White Plains Road in the North Bronx. And they're not big, fancy places. They're small. They're about the size of your living room. I've been sick all weekend, Swebb. And we'd go in there. I'd go in there and order. They had tremendous meatballs. So the waiter or the waitress got to know me. And I'd order meatballs and French fries.
Interesting. A little Italian and a little bit of American.
And they'd say, "You sure you want meatballs? I mean, you sure you want French fries?" Yeah, it's a good combination. So they made me French fries. And then the next day we'd be at the kosher deli and have the best potato knishes and the best kosher hot dogs. Couldn't beat it. And then the next day we're at Jerry's Pizza. And we'd stand there and watch them make the pie, put it in, wait there 20 minutes, whatever it took, take it out, cut it, slice, boom. 25-cent slice when we were in high school, 15-cent slice when we were in middle school, 10 cents cup of soda, Swebb.
Pizza's now about $5 a slice.
That's how much they cost?
Yes, in New York City. So,
no wonder there's so many people moving out.
And it's not always the best pizza. So the times they have changed.
Oh. And those Italian restaurants, grandma was in the kitchen cooking. An Italian grandma.
Yeah, not my grandma. Someone's
right.
grandma.
Right. That's who was cooking. And the kosher deli, it was Jewish people. They had so the food was authentic from people that knew what they were doing.
Okay, so what are you going to have for dinner? You said you're excited about your next meal. Are you going to the Bronx to get food tonight or what?
No. Chicken and rice tonight, Swebb.
Okay, I'm having chicken and rice as well with corn and black beans.
Great minds think alike.
And so now we've come to Dad Tip of the Week. What do you want to tell the people? What do you want to advise the people this week?
Try different types of food.
Try French fries with your meatballs.
Try French fries with your meatballs. You'll never know what you really like. Try different types of food. See, I could have just kept eating certain things. But see, my parents forced us to try different types of food because there was something different every night. A lot of times we did not like it, but you had to finish it. There was no scrape it out in the garbage pail like you did and your brother did at times, Swebb.
I remember when Grandma and Grandpa used to babysit, and I'd wait for them to fall asleep at the kitchen table, and then I'd slide my food into a napkin and throw it out because my seat at the dinner table was next to the garbage can. So I know. Let me add to your tip. If you're going to try different types of food.
That didn't work with them when I was a kid because they were a lot more alert.
Well, yeah, they were like 70 at the time when they were babysitting. Yeah. So let me add to your tip that if you're going to try different types of food, make sure you try them in moderation. Otherwise, your T-shirt might look like a schmedium. Okay? And that concludes...
Why moderation? If you're going to sit down and eat, you want to eat, Swebb. What do you mean
moderation? Yeah, you got to make sure you burn some calories. It's about intake and outtake, my friend.
Let me get back to the lazy boy recliner, Swebb.
All right. So this has been a fun episode. Make sure to join the Dad and Swebb Talk Sports Bracket Challenge. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Dad and Swebb. Like and comment on our videos and our posts, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next week.
So long.
Thank you for tuning into Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.